Okay. I think we're live on YouTube. Are we live on Periscope? 1 2 1 2 5 4 5 4. Tell me if you can see me. Tell me if you can hear me. Live. Status Coup in the house. Let me send out the text message since I am on a little bit earlier than I normally am. Do. Sending text message. Join live. Next. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Jordan live. Status Coup. United Corporations of America. Christmas Eve. I'm a Jew, but I wish you well. Ho, ho, ho. Marry DNC corruption. Let me get the text message out. 4396246. Okay, this text message has been sent. Press that like button. Smash that like button right there, right under the live stream. More people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. Important investigative reporting to discuss today that I did. And I actually did it for The Intercept. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. Thank you, Thomas. $2 in the super chat. Appreciate it, Thomas. Let me just retweet us on Twitter because we're live on Twitter as well as Twitch. So if you guys didn't notice, we sent it out to the email list. We also sent it out via text. I did a story for The Intercept. Thank you, Richard, $4.99 after reading the title, Inevitable Swear Jar. Oh, I'll be cussing. By the way, if you see something in my mouth, I'm not chewing gum. It's a cough candy because I started developing a cough yesterday, praying it ain't the Rona. I'm praying it's not Rona because God for fucking bid, I can't get coronavirus 2 times. But I have a little bit of a cough, so that's why I have a sucking candy, so bear with me. A little public service announcement. I'll be talking about this throughout the broadcast. I am going live a little bit early today. I normally go live about 4:30, 5 o'clock Eastern, because at 6 o'clock Eastern, we will be live right here on this channel covering the march on Jeff Bezos' luxury apartment. So John, my cameraman, will be covering that in New York City tonight. So definitely get back here, 6 o'clock Eastern time. We'll send out a text message for that too. There is, as far as I know, a lot of people ready to deliver coal to Mr. Bezos at his luxury apartment in New York City. So we will be there, 6 o'clock Eastern. Please tune in, share it, all that good stuff. At 7:30 Eastern, busy night, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, I'll be on with Graham Elwood talking about this story, so I'll be on his channel. And then at 8:30 Eastern, I am going on with Jen Perelman, who ran against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She has a new YouTube channel, and I'll be on with her. I believe it broadcasts on her YouTube channel as well as her Twitter. So I will be on. You don't social distance yourself? I do. I do social distance. Don't slander me. Rock. So 6 o'clock, we'll be live covering the Amazon protest. 7:30, I'll be live on Graham's program. And 8:30, I'll be live on Jen's program. So a lot to do, little time to do it. Smash that like button, thumbs up, right under the live stream. More people that press that like button, the more people that will see this live stream. So, as you know, Jen too, but I covered the 2020 campaign. I was in Iowa for the caucus. I was in New Hampshire for the primary. I was in South Carolina for the primary. Jen was in Nevada for that caucus. I was in California on Super Tuesday. Jen was in Michigan for that primary. So we were all over the place, thanks to you, our members. Hint, hint. By the way, we're growing again. Finally, We're back at 1,772 members. Enjoyed our members call last night. We went on for, I think, 3 hours. So it was a great time last night with our members. We're going to try to do another one soon. Probably before the new year, we're going to try to do another one because we owe you an extra one. So I was kind of hinting that I was working on a story on the Iowa caucus because if you hadn't noticed, last week a report was released. And Politico, conveniently, on the same day that the report was released, already had a story prepared on this Iowa caucus report. And the report was because a former U.S. attorney who was appointed by President Obama, he was appointed to do an investigation, air quotes, investigation, as to gee golly, what the hell went wrong during the Iowa caucus? We got the shadow app, all this fuckery, delays for days in getting the results, all types of chaos. What went wrong? I could have told you what went wrong. So Politico reported on this report, and frankly, their report kind of seemed like it was fed to them by the DNC, if you ask me. So, traveling as much as I have the last few years, I've developed sources in different cities and states and all that. So on the same day that the report was released through Politico, there was a private meeting called a closed session of the Iowa State Democratic Party. Technically, it's called the Iowa State Steering Committee. So every state has its own Democratic Party or Republican Party, and the Iowa State Steering Committee was having a meeting where the attorney who did this investigation into what happened in the Iowa caucus, what went wrong, was delivering the results to members of the Iowa State Democratic Party. And what would you know? Pretty much as soon as members of the Iowa State Party got the report, before they could even read it, the details leaked through Politico. I wonder who would leak the details through Politico when Iowa State Party members were just getting the report for the first time. So I was able, not going to get into details, but I was able to get my hands on, through sources, I was able to get my hands on the transcript from that private Iowa State Democratic Party meeting. The closed session of the Iowa State Democratic Party, they had a transcript, and it's a closed session, so it's not public. But I was able to get the transcript, and The Intercept, who I like, were interested in publishing it, so I did it with them, because as much as we're growing here at Status Coup, at this point, for certain stories, we're going to try and leverage larger platforms that have are more well-known than us, to get our stories out and get, our name out, my name out, Jen's name out, and just get more eyeballs on our reporting until we could grow. We are working on creating a whole brand new website, but that's not going to happen until next year. So the Intercept published this. And if you look through what I found, some people will respond, oh, Jordan, shocking news, water's wet, the DNC cheated. But I think this goes more in depth on the specific fuckery, excuse my French, swear jar. And I put the link to the story in the super chat. I put the link to the story in the description, but here it is. I just put it in if you want to read along. We could go through it because obviously Iowa caucus, we're talking almost a year ago. And obviously there's a lot of other things going on that are very important, but I do think it's very, very important to actually report to you what actually happened here, because where is the progressive movement going to go? How is the progressive movement going to seize power if we don't expose the actual election fraud going on in this country? Not Trump and Rudy Giuliani's ridiculous rantings, but the actual election fraud. Because what I'm about to report to you, it's fraud. I was there. It's fraud. Okay? So thank you, Thomas. You are all doing A++. We appreciate it. So keep pressing that like button. Almost 300 people watching, 162 of you. As a reminder, 6 o'clock Eastern, John will be live covering from New York City the protests outside Jeff Bezos' luxury apartment in New York City. So we got a busy day here. Let me read the article that I did for The Intercept. and I'll stop and start and go through my reporting. Headline, investigator, DNC was directly involved in the Iowa caucus app development, countering the DNC denial. And there's my little headshot, my name. So let me give you actually the tweet on this. Hold on. About the Iowa caucus, we will be live streaming at 8 o'clock Eastern. Let me know if you can make it, and remind me your Skype handle. Oh, boy, what a conundrum. I made a commitment at 8:30. Hold on. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So I could do it. If hold on, folks. If I'm out. Bye. Behind the scenes, I just got a message. Oh, there you see the message because I didn't move my screen. I just got a message to go on Jimmy Dore's show tonight, but it would conflict with Jen Perlman, so I'm trying to do everything. So let me take you through. Here we go. The Democratic National Committee refused to cooperate with investigators and was, quote, directly involved in the development process of the infamous Shadow app ahead of the 2020 Iowa caucuses. That's the conclusion of the former U.S. attorney leading the investigation into what went wrong during the first-in-the-nation caucuses as relayed to the Iowa State Democratic Party in a closed session meeting last week, according to a transcript of the meeting obtained by The Intercept, i.e. Jordan. Quote, the DNC was directly involved in the development process. Nicholas Kleinfeld, a former federal attorney appointed by President Barack Obama, told the Iowa Democratic Party State Steering Committee in the December 12th meeting about the findings of an investigation he led alongside former Iowa Attorney General Bonnie Campbell. Kleinfeld's revelation about the committee's involvement counters the DNC's claim it made immediately after the Iowa caucuses. Back then, the DNC claimed it had, quote, absolutely no involvement in the development or coding of the Shadow app, which was supposed to record and report caucus results. So, before I read further, let's start from the beginning. Let's talk a little thing called common sense. Okay? And keep those super chats coming. 330 of you have pressed the like button. Keep pressing that like button. So, for a long time, elections, hold on. One second. Never mind. I moved it to 9 p.m. So yes, 8 p.m. Eastern works. So for a long time, in the good old days, we did. This is the problem when you're live and you're trying to set up stuff, but it's good. We're busy. So for a long time, in the good old days, you know how they would report election results? You'd pick up the fucking phone, excuse my French, and you'd call from each caucus site the results into the state party. There wouldn't be an app to deliver the report, to deliver the numbers. So from the beginning, one must ask, why was the Democratic National Committee so hell-bent on reinventing the wheel ahead of the 2020 caucus and developing an app to just deliver the results? Why? Do you recall many problems with the Iowa caucus, years and years and years, where they couldn't report the results because just calling the results like normal? You know, there was fuckery in 2016, as we know. CNN and all the outlets literally called it for Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton was only up by 1/10 of a point. It was ridiculous. But why was the Democratic National Committee so invested in creating an app? Can somebody explain that to me? Unless you we've heard over the last 4.5 years about foreign governments like Russia wanting to sow this chaos and sow discord into our election system. But if you ask me, the DNC directly involving themselves in mandating that an app be used to report the results that literally is literally demanding, the DNC also, as I report, mandated that this app, Shadow, which, by the way, yes, the name was Shadow, by the way, was created by veterans of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. So the developers of this app are from the Hillary Clinton campaign. Pete Buttigieg's campaign paid $42,500 to this app for software to send out text messages for their campaign. So the DNC asked the Shadow app literally like 2 weeks before the Iowa caucus to create a separate conversion software because the DNC software and Shadow software were different. They didn't sync. I'm trying to make this simple in terms of technology. They weren't simpatico. So if a DNC asked the Shadow app, I wish this was the Onion. That's what the app would be called, Shadow. Asked the Shadow app to create, in the last minute, a brand new piece of software so that the DNC could have access to the real-time, raw numbers before, on the night of the caucus, before they were made public. Let me continue reading my reporting so we could get to this. As I told you, what the attorney told the Iowa State Party in this private meeting last week was counter to the DNC's claims they were directly involved in the development of this app. When 3rd District State Party member Kim Callahan asked investigators to expand on the DNC's involvement, they failed to elaborate, simply confirming that the DNC wouldn't cooperate with its investigation. Let me stop again. How do you do an investigation onto what happened if you don't interview anyone from the DNC? Tell me that. Was this a real investigation or for show? Why do we submit findings without forcing the DNC? I'm not saying make it a criminal investigation, which I think after I finish reporting this, one might want to consider. But how do you come to any findings without interviewing Tom Perez? The DNC executives involved with this, wait for it, meddling into our election. And by the way, the investigators doing the investigation, one was a former U.S. attorney appointed by President Obama, and the other was the former Iowa State Party chairwoman and former Iowa State Attorney General. So, frankly, I'm not calling them corrupt, but I am saying these are two partisans. These are two Democratic Party stalwarts doing the investigation, which the DNC would not cooperate with. Without the DNC's cooperation in the probe, investigators were hamstrung. Quote, there seemed to be a great deal of culpability by the DNC, Jim Bunton, a 3rd District Iowa State Party member, said to Kleinfeld in the meeting that I got the transcript of. Quote, there doesn't seem to be a lot of cooperation for the DNC from what you're saying. How could we hope to have a better outcome next time around? Because the actor we can't control is the DNC. Let me repeat that. Because the actor we can't control is the DNC. I don't know. When they're talking about actors we can't control, does that sound to you like a neutral Democratic Party? The Democratic Party spokesperson lied after the Iowa caucus, said, I don't know anything about Shadow. We had no involvement in the Shadow app. We had no involvement. Then the attorney who's investigating says in this private meeting, they were directly involved with the development of this app. And they wouldn't cooperate with our investigation. So They already lied once on the record, Mr. Investigator, and they refused to cooperate with your investigation through their lawyer. And we're all supposed to just sit back and be like, cool, democracy wins. It'll be fair next time. And keep those super chats coming. We need it, folks. We need your support. Smash that like button. 420 watching. Put it in your pipe. 420. Smoke it. Let's give you more. In the closed session state party meeting, 3rd District State Party member Gabriel de la Cerda asked the attorneys leading the investigation if it was correct that the state party and the shadow app had the correct results on caucus night for the delegates won. 26.2% for Pete Buttigieg and 26.1% for Bernie Sanders, and could have reported it if not for the DNC's demand not to. Let me repeat that. The DNC, this attorney told the Iowa State Party members that we actually had the numbers right. We didn't have all of the numbers, but we had enough numbers to start reporting, and it showed a 0.1% difference between Buttigieg and Bernie. Essentially, it showed a tie, a complete tie. But the DNC stopped the Iowa State Democratic Party from releasing that because the DNC had demanded that the Shadow app developed a conversion software that allows them to see the real-time numbers before the public. And because there was a glitch in that conversion app, which, by the way, the DNC demanded a technology company to make 2 weeks before the Iowa caucus, of course there was going to be an error. They demanded that we don't allow you to release the results. So this Iowa State Party member asked, wait a minute, Mr. Attorney, are you telling me that on the night of the caucus, when the DNC basically blocked the Iowa State Party from releasing results, that the results that we had in at that time, showing only 0.1% of a difference between Buttigieg and Bernie, essentially a tie, which, by the way, were the final results that came in days later because of the DNC's fuckery, that could have been reported if not for the DNC's demand not to. Part of the delay was related to the party's promise to, for the first time, release popular vote totals, which proved more difficult than tabulating delegates. Quote, on election night, we knew it was going to be a 0.1 percentage difference between pledged delegates won, de la Cerda, the state party member, said. Kleinfeld, the attorney who was investigating the caucus, conceded, yes, they were, in fact, the same as the results that were finally reported. So I want to explain to you, if you're not following, why that's important. Because I went to New Hampshire next, after Iowa. So this delay that was forced by basically Tom Perez and the Democratic National Committee, the neutral Democratic National Committee. And thank you very much for the super chat. McFly, $4.99. Love your work. Keep it up. Appreciate it. Self-taught artist, $10. Appreciate it. Keep them coming. This delay allowed Pete Buttigieg, the audacity of this man, to go out on the night of the caucus when no results were released because the DNC stopped the Iowa State Party from releasing results, allowed Pete Buttigieg to go out and essentially declare victory. You remember that audacious, arrogant speech? Tonight we've made history and we are victorious. Onward to New Hampshire. And frankly, Bernie's campaign, once again, like they were in 2016, for the New York election fraud, the New York primary fraud, and this time, were caught flat-footed. I'm a journalist. I ain't a political pundit. But Bernie's campaign basically said, we won more votes. We won the popular vote. We're on to New Hampshire. Without actually challenging Buttigieg's narrative that he won. Without actually saying, this is fraudulent. He didn't win. We don't even know the results. Let me tell you something. If that was a Republican, if this was the Republican primary, and that was Trump, that was, I don't know, the Republican version of Pete Buttigieg coming out and doing that when there was a delay in the vote, Donald Trump's would be in court in 5 minutes. And he'd be right. He'd be right to do that. Not only did this delay, because if Iowa would have reported the results that night, the results that this attorney just revealed to state party members in a private meeting, we had the final results. We had them on the night of the Iowa caucus, but Tom Perez made us not report it. That's essentially what he said. Two things would have happened. A, Pete Buttigieg doesn't get to go out and declare victory because it's essentially a tie. Yeah, the media would have said, Pete Buttigieg outperformed. They would have made a narrative, Bernie should have won. But there wouldn't have been a narrative that Pete Buttigieg, won the Iowa caucus, which helped Pete Buttigieg get a 10 percentage point bump. A 10 percentage point bump Pete Buttigieg got in 8 days before the New Hampshire primary, which allowed Pete Buttigieg to eat into Bernie's New Hampshire lead, and Pete Buttigieg only lost to Bernie by a point, which the media, of course, declared Pete Buttigieg essentially the winner of the New Hampshire primary, and also were, drooling that Amy Klobuchar came in a strong third. So all of this is connected. Of course, we could say shoulda, coulda, woulda, all those things. But what we can for sure say is the DNC meddled. The DNC sowed chaos, and I wonder why. Hold on. Seven. So let me read you more of this because it gets worse, if you could believe it. And 500 people watching, smash that like button and keep those super chats coming. We appreciate them. So the DNC, of course, gave some cockamamie statement to Politico. They didn't respond to me, evaluating on why they wouldn't cooperate with the investigation. Evaluating the nominating process always happens following the election so that the DNC staff can remain focused on winning the general election. And this cycle, that work helped contribute to President-elect Biden's historic victory. Oh, thank you so much. The DNC mandated several-day delay in reporting results led Buttigieg to infamously declare victory without any actual results released, with the Sanders campaign claiming its internal results showed it had won the popular vote. The mainstream media elevated the former South Bend, Indiana mayor's victory narrative, boosting him in the polls for the New Hampshire primary set 8 days after the Iowa caucus. Quote, "This whole thing didn't feel right. The whole DNC intrusion into the Iowa process didn't feel right." James Zogby, a 28-year DNC member who supported Bernie Sanders' candidacy, told The Intercept. The DNC's meddling, which included a last-minute demand that developers of the Shadow app create a special software that would allow the DNC real-time access to the raw numbers before they went public, didn't sit well with Zogby. Quote, "Why would the DNC need to see that?" Talking about the raw numbers. Why wouldn't you trust the state party to make the determination? So I want to circle back to this point because I think it's very important. Why would the neutral Democratic National Committee demand that an app or a software, by the way, 2 weeks before the Iowa caucus, demand that a software be developed to convert the Shadow app's raw numbers that they're going to get on caucus night, convert it in a way that the DNC's tech system could read? Why would the DNC demand the raw numbers? Because I've spoken with, for this story, I spoke with a few people who have been in politics for a long time. They are familiar with the DNC. They are familiar with the primaries. And they said, I've never heard of the DNC basically having a mission control where they demand that the raw numbers be sent to them like before the state party gets the numbers and before it's reported publicly. If you follow history, do you know who else wants access to raw election results as they're coming in? The mafia. Mexican drug cartels. Just saying. Why did the DNC need the access? By the way, the DNC, great point, Eric. A private corporation. They don't have any government regulations. It's a private corporation. Why did the DNC mandate that you must show us the results before we report it to the public? Let's also add in here, not mentioned in this story, but I think important. There was another significant clusterfuck / head scratcher where the Des Moines Register, which is, the most, beloved, credible poll, maybe in all of politics, all CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, they all follow leading up to Iowa, the Des Moines Register poll. The Saturday before the caucus, they all sit there like, nerds waiting for the final Des Moines Register poll. But inexplicably, in 2020, as polls leading into Iowa were showing, that Democratic socialist Bernie Sanders heading into the polls in Iowa. Kind of important, whoever wins the Iowa caucus. Not always the case that the winner of the Iowa caucus wins the nomination, but often the case that the winner of the Iowa caucus wins. Obama and others. It also, the winner of the Iowa caucus, you get a lot of momentum, fundraising, media attention. That it's like the wind behind the sail between your, whatever that phrase is, sail behind your wind heading into New Hampshire. But inexplicably, the Saturday before the caucus, the Des Moines Register didn't release its final poll. Remember that? Because Pete Buttigieg's campaign complained because one voter said that when they were polled, they weren't given Pete Buttigieg as an option. I don't know. Imagine if you're a Bernie voter and you called the Des Moines Register to complain that you were polled by the Des Moines Register and they didn't give Bernie as an option. You think they'd spike the poll? And when that poll was leaked, the one that the Des Moines Register wouldn't release, what would you know? Bernie Sanders was at 22% in the lead. Pete Buttigieg was in third place at 16%. That poll was suppressed by the Des Moines Register. And then on caucus night, we have the DNC stopping the Iowa State Party from reporting the results that essentially showed a tie between Buttigieg and Bernie. Listen, I don't like Buttigieg, but I will say he did do well in the caucus. It was, from what we know, very close. I wish Bernie would have won by more, but that's not the point. It's about the narrative that was allowed to sink in, that because of this delay that was created by Tom Perez and the DNC, it allowed a narrative that helped Pete come in a close second in New Hampshire, that Pete Buttigieg won the Iowa caucus when that was not the reality. Thank you, Kilkenny, $2. Thanks for your work. Hopefully will lead to reform. So let's go further. In the transcript that I got from this closed session Iowa Democratic Party meeting, members suggested that the DNC's goal was to strip Iowa of its prestigious first-in-the-nation status. Quote, I think we're all aware that the DNC wants us to no longer have first-in-the-nation status, specifically with caucuses, De La Cerda, a state party member, said. before asking the attorney in charge of the investigation a question about the legality of potentially changing the Iowa caucuses to a ranked choice voting system in the future. In the meeting, attorneys Kleinfeld and Campbell, who were in charge of the investigation, stressed that their review didn't, quote, use any sort of legal compulsory process to obtain documents or other information in this case. So, to be clear, the DNC wouldn't cooperate with this, and the attorneys did not compel the DNC to hand over emails, to hand over any correspondence they had with Shadow, to hand over anything from the night of the Iowa caucus from the DNC, emails, phone calls, text messages, nada. We had an investigation that was investigating basically the DNC without mandating the DNC participate or doing anything legally to get their documents, text messages, phone calls. I don't know, folks. What do you call that? Theater? By the way, this law firm, I believe, was paid over $50,000 for said investigation. So if the DNC won't talk, we don't make them talk. We don't take any legal action to get their documents, their emails, their text messages. The lawyer overseeing the investigation happened to have been a U.S. prosecutor appointed by Obama. The other lawyer happened to be the former chair of the Iowa State Democratic Party, happened to be the former Iowa Attorney General, happens to be a partisan Democrat. Tim, I call it corruption. I agree. I call it Tuesday. So let's go further, shall we? And as a reminder, we got 500 people watching. Press that like button. I want to also remind you, if you came into this late, at 6 o'clock Eastern, we will be live from the March on Jeff Bezos. Protesters, Christian Smalls groups, are protesting outside Mr. Bezos' luxury apartment in New York City. We covered it last time. We'll be on the ground there. Our cameraman John will be there covering it live. Anybody else? You see other independent outlets in the field doing the hard work in the trenches? Sign up. Support us as a member. statuscoup.com/join. At, I believe, 7 o'clock, I'm going to be on with Graham Elwood talking about this story. Tentatively, I haven't confirmed it yet, but I might be going on Jimmy Dore at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then at 9 o'clock, I'm going on with Jen Perlman, who ran against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, her show. So, busy night, but a good busy. We're happy to be busy. And thanks to everybody for the super chats, the likes, share this. The story that I did in The Intercept is in the description of this video, so you can read it. So let's take this to the finish line, shall we, folks? When the 2nd District State member Wesley Clemens asked if the attorneys had looked into any financial records as part of the inquiry, the attorneys said they looked at contracts between the Shadow app and others. The Shadow app was developed by veterans of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. Buttigieg's campaign used the firm Shadow Inc. as a vendor, paying the developer $42,500 for text messaging software. State party members received the caucus report at the beginning of the closed session meeting. Soon after, before they could even read it, details of it were published by Politico. Quote, "We're already getting information from the press that the report, as I feared, would be leaked as soon as it was released to the state central committee," Iowa State Party Chair Mark Smith said. First District State Party member Lindsay Ellickson later added, quote, "It's been 2 minutes since we got the report, so I feel like the report had to have been leaked, honestly, even before this. I wonder who leaked it. I just wonder who leaked it." A state party source told The Intercept that the refusal of high-ranking DNC executives, including Chair Tom Perez, to cooperate undermined the credibility of the caucus investigation. State members also suspect that the DNC members leaked details of the report to Politico before Iowa State Party members received it. Quote, "Without knowing exactly who at the DNC or how that went, I think the DNC has to work with the state party in Iowa to figure out what didn't work in terms of the app and also what is a good process for 2024 so that small states have representation and not just large states like California," Larry Cohen, board chair of progressive group Our Revolution, told The Intercept. On January 23rd, the Iowa State Democratic Party will hold elections for a new chair. Smith, who took over after Chair Troy Price resigned a week after the caucuses, said he won't seek re-election. Tom Perez has also announced plans to step down as the DNC chair. So once again, I will put this in the super chat. Read it, share it. Let's get the numbers up for the Intercept. Betray Your Soul 38, $4.99. Keep killing it, Jordan. Hashtag force the vote. You know my thoughts. I'm for it. I am for it. So what are my takeaways from this? And by the way, thank you to the Intercept for publishing this. We're going to do our plan is basically a multi-pronged attack. Of course, there's some things we're going to do just as status coup, but then there's other things, right now we have to leverage larger platforms like the Intercept. We did a investigative report, a major investigative story earlier in the year through Vice. We need to leverage outlets that are big and have a bigger audience. And there's only a few outlets, frankly, in America, in the United Corporations of America, that actually want to do investigative reporting and actually challenge power. Wait till I write the book on all these corporate outlets that have refused to report on DNC fuckery that I had, or Flint, the crimes in Flint, including one that just turned me down for a major story pertaining to Flint. And once that story's out, I'm going to roast that outlet who turned me down. I'm going to make it public that this outlet suppressed life or death information that the people of Flint deserve to know. But that's a different story. So why is this important? Because I saw on Twitter some people being like, so what? Water's wet. The DNC's corrupt. Who cares? Because the bottom line is, we could talk about hashtag force the vote, which I support. We could talk about Medicare for all. We could talk about free public college tuition. We could talk about everything. But at the end of the day, if we don't have a surefire plan to make the Democratic primary process actually democratic, if we don't have, the knowledge of what actually went on here, then we can't prepare something more than a unity commission, which I think we're starting to see. Thanks for the people who fought, but unity schmoonity, these people are corrupt. They screwed Bernie Sanders. They rigged it in 2016. They got away with it then. The media was complicit and pretended, oh my God, you Bernie people, you progressives, you're a bunch of kooks. You're a bunch of conspiracy theorists. Rigged. Well, what the fuck do you call this? What do you call the shadow app? And by the way, to those of you thanking me in the super chat, appreciate it. But you know what you could do instead of thanking me? You could sign up as a Status Coup member for the holidays for as low as $5 a month. I just put it in there, statuscoup.com. It ain't cheap to fund this kind of reporting. Got to pay me, got to pay Jen, got to pay John, our cameraman, who's in the field. We got to pay Colin. There's travel expenses, equipment expensive. We have a lot of expenses that, frankly, a lot of other outlets don't, because we actually do shit and investigate in the field and in stories like this. So if you don't have the money, we understand tough times for everybody. But if you do, I really encourage you, think about becoming a member. You get great perks also with that membership, including our monthly members call, which we just did last night. Had a little fight, which was entertaining. Our Status Coup Discord, which is a perk as a member, and other behind-the-scenes content. So sign up. But this is important. Even though it was a year ago, it's important because, we're going to have, let's say in 2024, I'm just throwing out a name, Nina Turner. And thousands and thousands of people descend Iowa like they did for Bernie. Thousands and thousands of volunteers came, not just in America. I met in Iowa volunteers that came from across the globe, other countries. This was before coronavirus was known and made public, to volunteer to knock on doors for Bernie Sanders. I don't want to say what is the point. Jordan, who pays us? You. Oh, who pays you? Nobody. The government, the United Corporations is supposed to pay you. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I'm paid by you. I don't have any dirty donors funding us. Betray Your Soul, $38, $4.99. Didn't TYT get $2 million for investigative reports and fired them? That's a very interesting point you make, Betray Your Soul. I do recall, when was this? At the end of 2016, after I had built TYT Politics from 2,000 subscribers to 140,000 in less than a year. I do recall Cenk Uygur launching a campaign to raise $2 million to hire additional reporters, and I quote, saying, "Get me 10 more Jordan Charitons." I'm not saying this to brag, that's what he said. I do recall that they raised $2 million for reporters. You know, we could argue about whether the people they hired were actual reporters. They hired Nomiki Konst, Michael Tracy, Andrew Jones, Naomi LaChance, Ryan Grimm, David Sirota, Dylan Radigan, Sean King, a couple people behind the scenes with that $2 million. I might be forgetting somebody, but those are the names I remember. And within a year, Nomiki was gone. Maybe within a year, year and a half. Within a year, Nomiki was gone. Michael Tracy was gone. Andrew Jones was gone. Naomi LaChance was gone. David Sirota was gone. Dylan Radigan was gone, and he only did a few videos anyway. Sean King was gone, and I don't even remember if he did any videos. I think the only one left is Ryan Grimm. So yes, that did happen. And interestingly enough, they were never asked, where did our $2 million go? We're working class people that gave you $2 million in just a few months. You promised us investigative reporters, and they're all gone now. And interestingly enough, and then I'm getting off of this topic, just half a year after they raised that $2 million, they got a $20 million investment from Jeffrey Katzenberg, who's the head of DreamWorks Animation, rich beyond rich, happens to be a mega donor to the Democratic Party. And soon after that, they started laying off more people. So I don't know. I'm not alleging anything. All I'm saying is, yeah, they did raise $2 million off of my name, by the way. I didn't see any of that money. And then got rid of all those people a year and a half later. That is correct. Maybe somebody could ask them about that. Where did the money go? Because now they're doing another fundraising campaign for $2 million, and I get the emails every day. So more money, give us more money, give us more money, after we just raised the $2 million, hired the reporters, fired the reporters, raised another $20 million, then laid more people off while union busting. Anyway, Matt W. 2NZ, what else would you call this but electoral fraud? I would actually go beyond electoral fraud and keep those super chats coming. At a certain point, and by the way, we are transparent at Status Coup. We initially got a $50,000 investment at the start of our company from a viewer. I'm not going to name names, but he was a viewer from Indiana. I met him at a conference, actually, while I worked at TYT. Great dude. Maybe I've talked to him 4 times. Never asked me to or tried to dictate stories. Was just very supportive. Invested $50,000 in the beginning. It helped us get equipment and bring, at the time, Ty on. You remember Ty. And that was it. The $50,000 was gone because equipment's really expensive, and obviously we had to pay Ty. Since then, we haven't had any other investment. We've tried, got one offer. We didn't take it because, frankly, I didn't like the source. I didn't trust that the source would not interfere. And as enticing as it is to take a lot of money so that you don't have to work 7 days a week and you could hire other reporters and, expand, you got to do it with sources that are aligned with your values, as well as will not interfere, will honor the fact that they have no editorial control. And I didn't feel comfortable with that we were going to get that. So we've only had one investor. We do have a GoFundMe. We've raised $133,000 over 2.5 years. I wish that money was sitting in our bank, but we've been spending it in real time on the reporting all over this country. You've seen all our reporting. So unlike some outlets, we don't just tell you to give money to us and then do nothing with it. We're actually spending the money you are so generous with to actually report, particularly in the field. I've been to Flint 17 times since 2016. Jen's been there several times. We've broken stories there because you funded us to go. With our membership is our ultimate goal. We were close to 2,000 members before COVID. We've lost a considerable amount of members as economic conditions worsened for people. But we're still, hanging on there, trying to grow. So you could definitely sign up again, statuscoup.com/join. But the bottom line is, sorry, I got on a tangent. This is not just, my wife says, if Jordan was allowed to share what he was threatened with at TYT, they wouldn't be in business. End of story. Don't get me in trouble, honey. Yes, I'm not. Unfortunately, I have restraints on what I can discuss pertaining to my exit from TYT. I'll leave it at that. So, love you, baby. Love my wife. The biggest supporter of the coup out there. So, I would go beyond election fraud. This goes beyond election fraud. Let's ask 3 basic questions. Number 1, if the Democratic National Committee is neutral, why is the Democratic National Committee, other than setting debate times, debate dates, debate venues, debate logistics, why is the Democratic National Committee involved at all with the state caucuses or primaries? Somebody tell me that. Why is the Democratic National Committee Betray $4.99? Probably should have just signed up, but you do great work. Happy holidays to Status Coup. Thank you, Betray. I hope you're telling me you signed up. Let me look. Did we get a new member? Don't betray me, Betray. Let's see. We do have a new member. Joe. Welcome, new Status Coup member, Joe. We're now at 1,773. 1,773. Keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. Remember, 6 o'clock Eastern. We'll be right back live covering the March on Bezos, his luxury digs in New York City. There will be protests. They are bringing him Christmas coal. Coal in Mr. Bezos's gold stockings. So, to me, why do we even agree in the first place for the Democratic National Committee, who has been exposed to have committed election fraud 2 elections in a row? Why are we even allowing them to be involved in 2024? Why are we allowing them to dictate that apps need to be used? Why was the Democratic National Committee allowed to mandate that a software company that the state party got, Shadow, an app, that they create a conversion software 2 weeks before the caucus so that the DNC could have real-time raw numbers? I could understand the state party, before releasing the numbers publicly, call Tom Perez, courtesy. Hey, just wanted to know, just wanted to tell you, here's the numbers we're about to report. Just a courtesy. He's the chairman of the party. That's fine. But providing you the raw numbers in real time, why would you need the raw numbers in real time? Wait a minute. That's what James Zogby told me for this story in The Intercept. The whole thing didn't feel right. Why would the DNC need to see that? Why wouldn't you trust the state party to make the determination? Because elections are supposed to be run. I don't even agree with this, first of all. I think we need one federal uniform standard and rules for elections, but that's another debate. Elections are supposed to be run by the state parties, not the DNC. The DNC is supposed to be, quote unquote, neutral. The DNC, by the way, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'd love to tell you Bernie definitely would have won without this fuckery. I'm not going to tell you that because who knows? I don't want to be a counterfactual. What I do know is because of this fuckery by the DNC, i.e. election fraud, which I think should have been investigated criminally. How are we going to rant and rave for 4.5 years, demand that a criminal investigation be opened about the Russian boogeyman, hire a special prosecutor in Robert Mueller, criminal investigation into Trump and Russia which I had nothing against the actual investigation. What I had something against was the hysteria and false media stories and McCarthyism and red scaring that went on. Have the investigation, wait for the results. But there was wrong story after wrong story after wrong story after wrong story. Nonstop. That was a criminal investigation. Oh, welcome new member Sam. Woohoo! We are now at 1,774 members. Holy cow. Keep signing up. Maybe we could get back to 1,800 before Christmas. I'm a Jew, but that would be wonderful for my Christmas stocking. This is my wife and I's first Christmas together. It's going to be so romantic. This is fraud, folks, and this should have been investigated as a crime. And I don't want to hear that it was an investigation. Jordan, read Trudy's super chat. See, the problem is, guys, Jen is usually in the live chat, and she usually keeps a running list for me because I lose the super chats. They after a while they go down. So if I'm missing it, please email me your super chat, and I'll read it. info@statuscoup.com. I'm not trying to ignore you. It's just hard to be live, read the story, and see all the super chats in real time. And I'm getting text messages from different people about this story. So if I missed your super chat, please email me right now, info@statuscoup.com. Let me read the ones that I think I still have that I might have missed. Pop Realty, Reality, $2. Do we still vote in rigged Deb primaries? Yes, vote. But how do we figure out how to unrig it? Because honestly, I got to tell you, not to be bah humbug, you damn right I'm worth 100 Ben Shapiros. Don't even put me in the same fucking sentence as that creep. What is the point of all of this, folks? What is the point of volunteering? What is the point of donating your hard-earned money that you probably don't have to give? Of watching all the debates? Of making the phone calls for Bernie or whoever it's going to be in the future? Of knocking on the doors? What's the point if you can't trust that the corrupt big brother, the Democratic National Committee, isn't going to find a way, either directly or indirectly, to fucking rig it? And I really don't want to hear, at this point, you can't objectively, unless you're a totally neoliberal, Kool-Aid drinking neoliberal Biden and Hillary supporter. You can't objectively look at this and say, yeah, no, this was straight. This was above board. An app. We have to have an app for no reason. Could have just had them call in from each caucus site like they always did. No problem. Make the app, create a fucking new software 5 minutes before the caucus to sow discord. Des Moines Register poll spiked at the last minute, showed Bernie in the lead, Pete in third place. Tom Perez throws his whole body on the scale, not even just his thumb, his whole body. And basically blocks the reports from being resulted that would have shown a tie. Still would have given momentum to Bernie. Money would have poured in. The media would have just reported it. Yeah, right. It's a tie, basically. Yeah, they would have found a way to spin it negative on Bernie, but Pete Buttigieg doesn't get to go out and declare I'm the winner of the Iowa caucus with a tie. He doesn't get a 10-point bump to New Hampshire. And honestly, I think, listen, we talk a lot about the consolidation, Obama with his heavy hand behind the scenes after Biden won South Carolina. Getting Pete to drop out, Amy to drop out, Beto to get off the bar, show up at this rally. Beto and Pete and Amy are all at this pathetic rally for Biden in Texas, and MSNBC's airing the whole thing. CNN's airing the whole thing. They're slobbering to try and lift Biden before Super Tuesday. New York Times did a report quoting an advertiser. Biden, between his victory in South Carolina and Super Tuesday, got $100 million in 4 days in free TV advertising. Remember, Trump in 2016 got billions in free airtime from CNN and the rest of them? Biden got $100 million in just a few days. Oh, what do you know? In Super Tuesday, Biden supporters, nearly half of Biden supporters said they decided in those final days. Well, what the fuck were they seeing in those final days before the Super Tuesday? Slobbering coverage for CNN, MSNBC, New York Times of, oh, Biden's been resuscitated. But I want to move before that. If Tom Perez, if the DNC were not able to basically block the Iowa State Party, which, by the way, if you know how it works behind the scenes, the state parties depend on the DNC for fundraising. They depend on the DNC to help them raise money, and the state party need money. So they couldn't exactly say, go fuck yourself, Tom Perez, we're reporting the results. They have to basically obey their master, so to speak. And thank you for the super chat. Pop Realty, $20. What's the point of being in a party that doesn't want you? But yet, people, White House people still find a way to ask people to stay. This is the case for hashtag People's Party. You're no better than Jank if you sheepdog people into a burning house, Jordan. First of all, Pop Realty, relax. Don't compare me to Cenk Uygur. I find that offensive. Secondly, when have I sheepdog anybody? I've interviewed Nick Brana. We covered the People's Party conference. I'm not against a People's Party, but I'm a journalist. So, I'm different than Jimmy. I can't like jump on board with pushing a People's Party. That's a conflict of interest. I actually have some ethics. I've been asked by activists to help them organize. I've been asked when I was at Standing Rock to help them organize things. I've been asked by Medicare for All people to help them organize things. I was just asked this morning by somebody to help them push and organize Force the Vote. I don't cross that line because journalism is my activism. So the best I could do is expose corruption. The best I could do is give people who don't have a voice through Status Coup. I think Jen agrees. But it's not my job to sheepdog for the Democratic Party or the People's Party. And do you watch this show? I'm sheepdogging for the Democratic Party? Get out of here. But thanks for the $20. Observer, $5. I thought DNC officials argued openly in court that as a private corporation, there are no laws prohibiting them from rigging their own primaries. They indeed did. They indeed did. They actually said, yeah, we could go behind closed doors with cigars, smoke it in the back room, and decide on who's the winner like the good old days. Pop Realty, $2. You just said continue to vote. So you don't want to vote in the Democratic primary if Bernie runs as a Democrat? If Nina's running for Congress in Ohio as a Democrat, you don't want to vote because she's running as a Democrat? Is that what you're telling me? I'm asking. I mean, if it was me, yeah, I don't really give a shit if Nina has a D or MPP next to her. I just want to vote for her so she could win. That's me personally. I mean, you either want to be pure or you want to win. I don't think there's enough time right now between now and when the special election for the Ohio 11th congressional district is to make MPP a force. So, yeah, I would suggest voting for Nina as a D. If Bernie ran as a D, you might not agree with it, but yeah, I would suggest voting for him. So, if that's sheepdogging for the Democratic Party, then okay. Thank you, to Full Hun, 1969, $20. Happy holidays. Thank you for a great year of reporting and looking forward to another. Keep up the great work, Jordan and team. Appreciate that. And by the way, Jen is still sick with COVID. She has a fever again today. So continue sending your well wishes to her. Matt W., $2. A big yes to one federal entity for all elections. Couldn't agree more. So I got to tell you, this story was conveniently put out in December. The investigation's findings. Jordan, you did push Biden as a lesser evil. Oh, stop it. I could take constructive criticism, but stop with this bullshit. I told you what I was doing. Which was drinking a lot of whiskey, holding my nose, and voting for Biden. You might not agree, but that's what I did. I was very clear to say, that's where it ends. You do what you want. I'm not telling you how to vote. This is why I voted the way I voted. But I'm not TYT doing fundraising emails pushing you to vote for Joe Biden. That didn't come from Status Coup. And after I told you, I personally made the decision to vote for Biden. Nothing changed. I kept hammering Biden after that and the Democratic Party. So stop with the pushing Like, this is immature, sophomoric thinking. Like, I think some of you, God bless you, need to get out of this fucking purity mindset that if you don't agree with me 1,000%, you're a sellout, you're a fraud, you're this, you're that. This is how 16-year-olds think and 16-year-olds talk. So if you want to remain pure, if you think that anyone who doesn't agree with you 1,000% is a sellout, a fraud, a coward, is pushing you, blah, 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 then enjoy your seat in the indefinite forever minority, because you're never going to win anything with that attitude. There's a difference between Nancy Pelosi and us, Chuck Schumer and us, okay? Yeah, I'd call them sellouts. I'd call them frauds. I'd call them corrupt. But, Jilly Love, this is why I canceled my membership, honestly. Goodbye. I actually, to tell you the truth, it's not within my interest to say this. I really would rather people who think like this to cancel their membership. If you are so childish, if you are so childish and so immature and so narrow-minded to withhold funding from an outlet that actually goes out in the trenches and tries to expose corruption on behalf of the poisoned people of Flint, that is the only outlet still covering the pipeline fights and indigenous people's struggle, that was the only outlet that gave a damn enough to go in the trenches covering Ohio and Michigan when General Motors laid off 15,000 people? When we are the only outlet out there covering these Amazon protests, we are the only outlet before George Floyd that was covering black men being executed all over this country. We went down on my dime. We didn't even have the money. I paid out of my savings for us to go down to Dallas with Ty to cover the execution of African American Botham Jean. If you want to cancel because I don't agree with you on 1,000% of things, fuck you, cancel. Jen will be mad at me, but I don't care. I'm not going to just play to clicks and your, whoever said that, irrationality. If you'd like to watch things that shovel your existing beliefs to you 1,000% of the times, then go do that. There's plenty of outlets out there for you. But I can't stand people like whoever said that. I wish I remembered the name because I would put you on blast. You are a child. You are immature. And you're not progressive. It's not progressive to think this way. It's not progressive to be like, oh my God, you're a sellout because you don't agree with me on 1,000% of things. Or you're not as pure as I am. Go fuck yourself. Seriously. I'm not going to apologize that I personally decided to vote for Joe Biden. You want to know why I voted for Joe Biden? You don't have to agree with this. Because I was actually at these quasi-Klan meetings that were his rallies. I actually went to them, not just in 2016, in 2020. I was at these maskless, lunatic super spreader events where His Holiness Donald Trump was actively allowing this virus to spread, which killed thousands and thousands of more people. I saw the hate that this man was spreading. Doesn't mean that I support Joe Biden or don't think him corrupt. But when you're in the trenches, by the way, when you've had coronavirus, which I have, and you're out there seeing this man poo-pooing wearing a mask, seeing this man packing outdoor and indoor arenas during a deadly pandemic, this man openly talking about trying to change the Constitution so he could serve more than 2 terms. Yeah, I made the decision that, you know what? I would rather deal with Joe Biden and Neera Tanden, Joe Biden and the DNC, and fight them than Donald Trump and QAnon, than Donald Trump and the Proud Boys. And if you disagree, that's cool, because I didn't tell you how to vote. Seriously. If you disagree, cool. I ain't losing sleep. We're adults. Well, some of us are adults. So if you made a different decision, okay. But who the fuck are you to shame me into how I voted? And why would I shame you? So Jilly, goodbye. If other people are so, what do they call it? Snowflakes? If you're such snowflakes that because I didn't vote the way you think I should have voted, or I don't think the way you think I should vote, go elsewhere. You could have your little club where you all scratch each other's backs and think the same thing 1,000% of the time. We don't need your funding, and we don't need your money. The end. Goodbye. Don't be a member. I don't give a damn. So, moving on. I think this goes beyond election fraud. Thank you, Sarah Love. $5. Sending Jen light and strength. Heart praying for you. Thank you so much. And by the way, we're less than an hour now. As a reminder, we will be live in less than an hour. Jilly, do you see the outlets you agree with out there? Covering the march on Jeff Bezos' luxury apartment in New York City. 6 o'clock Eastern. Come back right here. John will be live covering it. This goes beyond election fraud. This goes into the criminal territory. When you are a private company essentially hijacking democracy. This is the real election fraud. Sorry, Robert Mueller. Sorry, Rachel Maddow. And all these fucking idiots that created this Cold War reenactment, this Cold War espionage fantasy that Donald Trump, this moron, worked with Russia to steal the election. This is criminal. The DNC defrauded not just thousands, millions of volunteers for Bernie Sanders. And it's not just Bernie Sanders, to be fair. Them meddling affected other campaigns too. The DNC defrauded volunteers. They defrauded donors. They defrauded the candidates. And most importantly, they are defrauding democracy. Even though we don't have one, because we live in the United Corporations of America. And there's an investigation into what happened, and they don't even talk to the DNC. The DNC just says, yeah, we're not going to talk to you. And that's fine. Can you imagine if, Governor of Michigan, Rick Snyder, did try to block the criminal investigation. But could you just imagine, if a government entity like the governor of Michigan, who was governor when the citizens of Flint got poisoned, just was like, yeah, no, we're not going to talk to the investigators. You think the investigators would be like, yeah, okay, cool. Here's our findings. We didn't talk to the governor or any of his people that were involved with this poisoning of poor people in Flint. John, $5. God's with us, Jordan. Why, thank you. James, Paris, $10. Happy holidays and keep truth telling. Appreciate it. I mean, it's absurd. So I think hashtag force the vote is very, very important. I'm with it. Medicare for all these things. But to me, all of these things are secondary. If we can't actually have fair elections. It doesn't matter how great a progressive candidate is. It doesn't matter how organized a progressive campaign is. It doesn't matter how grassroots a progressive campaign is. It doesn't matter how many volunteers, how much small dollar money comes in. Doesn't matter what the polls say. If the corrupt big brother, the DNC, is involved behind the scenes and there's zero accountability. What was the accountability? Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to resign? Okay. The Unity Commission. Great. I respect the people that did the Unity Commission, but I think we now need a commission to remove the DNC from the Democratic Party's elections. Completely. The Democratic National Committee has lost their bathroom privileges. The Democratic National Committee cannot be involved in the Democratic primary. If you want to allow them to set the dates and the times and the venues of debates, fine. They'll figure out a way to fuck with that too. But let them set the debates, times, and venues. You want to allow Tom Perez or whoever will be the chair to go on TV constantly? Fine. That's it. I don't believe the Democratic Party. I don't think, not just progressives. This isn't just about the progressive movement. This is about all voters, including neoliberal voters. The only thing we have left in this country, which again is not a country, it's the United Corporations of America. The only thing we have left, technically, is the ability to vote and vote these bums out. So if that is rigged, as Lee Camp has done great reporting on, as Graham Elwood has done great stuff, Jimmy has done great stuff, humbly, I think we've done great stuff on. If that's rigged and there is no mechanism to unrig it, then I'm sorry. Even I would say to Nina Turner or anybody else, why should I waste my time volunteering? I'm not saying don't for her congressional campaign, but I'm saying, why should we keep knocking on doors? Why should we keep giving our money, our hard-earned money that we really don't have and can't afford to give? Text banking, making the calls, if fundamentally there's a corrupt enterprise in the background that's going to steal it. Frankly, I'm not even convinced that the real numbers were a tie. I'm not convinced of that. I don't think we'll ever truly know what the real Iowa caucus numbers were in 2020, because all you had to do was look at Twitter. People that went to the precincts, that were at the caucus precincts, were posting, wait a minute, why is the Iowa State Party results showing this candidate X, as winning my precinct when I have the tally right here and Bernie Sanders won the precinct? This happened all for days and days and days, showing that the numbers the Iowa State Party was putting out, either because they're incompetent or corrupt, were wrong. They were giving precincts to Buttigieg or Warren or Biden when Bernie had the most delegates from those precincts. So I really hope you read this story I did from The Intercept. Again, thank you to The Intercept for doing it with me. I really hope you share it. Sharing is caring. I will give you the tweet too. Let's get this around as much as possible. Right now it has almost 600 retweets on Twitter. Maybe we could get it closer to 1,000, which would be awesome. We got to take all the allies we can. So great. I appreciate The Intercept doing this. I hope to do more with them. And listen, I know everybody's in over their head. Everyone's exhausted. Whether you're working on Force the Vote, whether you're working on a Green New Deal, Medicare for All, $15 minimum wage, whether you're working just to stay afloat during this pandemic, not be evicted, keep your children safe, keep yourself safe. Everybody's exhausted, physically and mentally. But all of this shit is for nothing if we don't have free and fair elections. I don't think the full and only answer is electoral politics. I've been telling you for weeks and months, and I want to do more on this when I have time. I think part of it is electoral politics. The other part is economic boycotts, economic strikes, which I spoke with Richard Wolff about yesterday. The video's up. He was talking about, yeah, I think a general strike's coming. I think we need that plus electoral politics. But on the electoral politics side, if we don't get rid of this fraud, and by the way, the corporate media is in on it. The corporate media is in on it. They are complicit in this fraud. They gaslit you to be like, oh, you're just fucking conspiracy freaks. There's no rigging. The DNC is wonderful. The DNC is holy. So I'd like to see who's going to file the first lawsuit. I'm a journalist. I ain't telling you what to do, but I've delivered what happened. I've exposed what happened here, as humbly as I could say it. I think it's a little more than fraud. Who's taking them to court? Tom Perez is stepping down. He'll be a private citizen. We need to know, we need the emails from the Democratic National Committee from the days before the Iowa caucus and caucus day and the days after. We need the emails. We need text messages. We need phone calls. We need to know who spoke to who, when, what was said. If you have to compel people to court, that's what you need to do. We can't let this go. I don't want to hear from people on Twitter. Who cares? This was a year ago. It's a year ago, but it's going to happen again and again and again. First it's Debbie Wasserman Schultz, then it's Tom Perez. Next it'll be fucking whoever. The system is rotten. The system is corrupt. And by the way, don't think there's not fuckery among the Republican Party either, and the RNC. But the Democrats got him beat. The Republican Party basically knows we can't lose because any one of these candidates, even though Trump is vulgar, is going to give us our tax cuts, deregulation, all that shit. Democratic Party knew they can lose if one candidate won. Milas, how do you fight against something like that? I am just a humble reporter. I could report the news. My opinion is, I think, I'm not a lawyer, but I think there's enough here to file civil and criminal case. I would suggest somebody doing it different than the lawyers who filed the previous DNC fraud lawsuit. I'm not trying to create a whole thing, but I would suggest somebody else for a variety of reasons that's a little bit more professional. I will continue digging. The fact is, I was there on the ground in Iowa, so I saw a lot of this up close because of you guys, the members. So I really appreciate it. And we'll continue digging because, unfortunately, I think there's more here. We just got another couple new members. Oh, welcome, new member Sean. Welcome, new member James. Welcome, new member. I'm not seeing a name, but Low, I think, is the name. We're now at 1,776. 1,776 members. And let me get to my email because I told people whose super chats that I missed that I would to email me if I missed you. All right, I don't see anyone that emailed with a missed super chat. So let me see if I missed any more. John, $5. Have to find a way to move Biden to the right direction the way people moved FDR. Good luck with that, John. I think there's a better chance of me developing a six-pack before the new year. And that ain't happening. Let me see. Did I miss any other? Okay. Auntie, 1999. Unfortunately, that's the type of quote-unquote progressives who want purity I see in a lot of leftist places. You need people to be able to reach across the aisle and be able to de-radicalize Trumpers. I agree. Brathwaite, $5. What's the chance of a criminal investigation about what happened in Iowa? I just told you. I've given you the case. Got to be progressive lawyers out there that want to fight. Chris, $2. Stop wasting time on these people. Get better, Jen. You're right. I shouldn't give these people oxygen. It just really bothers me because honestly, I'm a public figure, so I'm open to criticism. But what I can't tolerate is people that choose because I don't give them what they want to hear 1,000% of the time, not fund removing their funding. And I'll tell you why. It's not because them removing their funding hurts me personally. It's because it hurts communities. I understand if you remove your funding or canceling your membership because you're in a tough spot and you just can't afford it anymore. Of course, it is what it is. We all have our budgets and economic pressures. But when you choose to not fund independent reporting, real independent journalism that actually goes out in the field and covers stories and communities that don't get attention, when you choose to not support that simply because you're, shallow and narrow-minded and they don't agree with you on all things and aren't as pure and fire-breathing as you're hurting our ability to cover Flint. You're hurting our ability to cover the next Standing Rock. You're hurting our ability to do what I just did for The Intercept. You're hurting our ability to send John, because we obviously have to pay him, as well as we have broadcasting costs. It costs us over $1,000 a month now to use the live view. You're hurting that because it costs money to do all this. So if you're that boneheaded and shallow, yeah, that bothers me, but I'll try to just keep it to myself. James, $10. Happy holidays and keep truth telling. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Tanya H, 20 pounds in the super chat. Or is that 20 euros? Yeah, 20 euros. Thank you, Tanya H. You are amazing, too. Lena, $4.99. Appreciate it. All right, folks, 600 people watching. I want to remind you, in a little over 40 minutes, we'll be back live here. We will be live from the March on Bezos. Our cameraman, John, will be covering protesters who are marching on Jeff Bezos' luxury apartment in New York City. The last one we covered, I thought was really great. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more people out tonight because this pandemic gets worse and worse and worse, and Jeff Bezos and Amazon become wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. So we will be out there in the trenches covering it. I will be live, I will be a guest, I believe, on Graham Elwood's show around 7 o'clock Eastern. Then I'll be live on Jimmy's show around 8 o'clock Eastern. And then I'll be live on Jen Perlman's show around 9 o'clock Eastern. So thank you. Busy night. Definitely tune in to our coverage in a little bit at 6 o'clock Eastern time. We'll also send out a text message. And I'll see you on those other broadcasts later. Thank you for watching. Peace out. And thank you for the super chats. Did I miss any? Observer, $5. Hey, Jordan, it's capitalism. He who pays the piper calls the tune. You are so right. And Stark, 007, $5. Let's just pretend 2020 never happened. Good riddance to this year that shall not be named. I'd like to forget it, but let's not forget this Iowa caucus fraud. Matt W., $5. The mechanism to unrig elections is direct action by a mass popular movement, as it is for step change of any kind. I agree. And I think part of that mass action needs to be economic protest. It's one thing to circle around, and I'm not a white guy telling Black Lives Matter what to do or anything, but I believe with those bodies in the street, you look at the George Floyd protests, the Breonna Taylor protests, think about how much more powerful and demanding those protests would be to the oligarchy, to capitalists, to the United Corporations of America, if with those bodies came their wallets being withheld. Their wallets being withheld from Amazon. Their wallets being withheld from corporate banking. Their wallets being held from Walmart, Target, fast food, Whole Foods. I could go on. It's not easy for everybody. Some people are poor, can only afford Walmart, fast food, whatever. But that's where we got to get. The bodies on the street also protesting with their wallets. By the way, because somebody just put the wrong times. No. Live around 7 o'clock East. Okay, we will be live at 6 o'clock covering this Amazon protest. I will be live on Graham's show around 7 o'clock Eastern, and I'll be live on Jimmy's show around 8 o'clock Eastern. God, I'm dizzy already. It's going to be a long night. A good night, though, a good night. I'll be live at Jimmy's show at 8 o'clock Eastern and Jen Perlman's show around 9 o'clock Eastern. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back on this channel in about a half hour. Peace out.